welcome to Your Choice 2020 Primary Election coverage on HOMTV. I'm Brandy Yates, and joining me for this candidate interview is Kristina Lyke, Republican Congressional candidate for the 8th District. Kristina, thank you so much for being here. And at this time, you can take the opportunity to introduce yourself to the viewing audience.
Thank you, and thanks for having us today. First of all, my name is Kristina Lyke, and I'm running for the 8th Congressional District. I want everyone to know that I actually lived here my entire life. I grew up here, I worked here. I actually worked for Dan Gustafson, who was a state representative. I was an intern there at the Capitol. I began my whole career in Pinckney. I lived there about 21 years. And then after that, I became a trustee for the Village of Pinckney at age 19. They used to call me the babe. And I thought that was kind of cute, but that was the first thing I did in my career was get a raise for the police at age 19 as a trustee. I then attended law school, and after I attended law school, I did open up a business right here in East Lansing, and I'm very proud of that. It's called Lyke Law PLLC. I've been a criminal defense attorney for 15 years and a family law attorney for 15 years. And I decided to run for Congress because I've always served the people right here in our district, and I want to continue to serve the people right here in this district.
Thank you. Each 8th District Congressional candidate will be asked a standard list of 12 questions. Let's get started with question number 1. What qualifications do you have for the position of U.S. Congress?
Well, thank you. The first thing I would say is I have resided. I'm uniquely qualified because I have resided in this district my entire life. I grew up here, as I stated before. I've worked here. I have a small business, and I have actually defended people's rights out each and every day for the last 15 years. And constitutional rights I'm talking about, like the First Amendment, the Second Amendment. I'm the only candidate that actually has received guns back by an order, a court order, to have individuals receive their guns back for their Second Amendment. I'm proud of that. I've always been a firm believer in the Second Amendment. My dad was a local gun dealer, so I've always stood by that. And my mom taught me my faith, so I always say this: my mom taught me the First Amendment, my dad taught me the Second Amendment. So I'm very proud of that. That's one of the qualifications that I have. So I've helped a lot of domestic violence victims during my years of practice. I believe that I'm qualified to help each and individual person. I've helped veterans. I've defended them as they're coming home from service. They needed help in different activities and in counseling. So I've done a lot of that for veterans too, and I've done it pro bono for them as well. The second thing is that as a lawyer, I mean, I touched on this a little bit, but I have defended people in their constitutional rights. But the third thing is that I'm a mediator, and I've mediated cases. And right now, Congress is very diverse, or not diverse, excuse me, but has a lot of tension going on in Congress. And I believe that we can all come to a common ground. There's something that we can all agree on. And as a mediator, I have dealt with that very much so, because the fact is that people are on complete opposite ends. And then what happens is that we can find a common ground and then grow from that. And that's what we need to do in Congress, because what we are is public servants. I've always been a public servant. I've always served this district. And I want to go to Congress to be a public servant, because one of the things that we need to do is make sure that we remember that when we go to DC. And when we find that common ground, just like as a mediator, that qualification is going to help me to find a common ground and not take away the integrity or the morals that have gotten me there, but make sure that we find a common ground so we do what is best and effective for our district right here in the 8th District and serve the district.
Question number 2. If elected, what would influence your political decision-making process?
Well, first of all, I would say this. What would influence me is doing the right thing no matter what the cost is. And that means integrity. But second of all is every day I go into work, I try to pray. And before I go into court, I pray to try to make sure that I do the best thing, that I have the wisdom of Solomon, and make sure that whatever I do is best for the client and best for what's going on. And I'm going to do that in Congress too as well. But what else is going to influence me is that we have, during the campaign trail, have actually gone to different townships and different supervisors, talked to trustees. We've, on the campaign trail, began that early before the shutdown of the COVID-19. But we did that because the fact is I wanted to make sure that people understood that when I'm your congresswoman, I'm going to make sure that we know what's going on in the state of Michigan. And then I'm always going to be available for the individuals right here in the 8th District. Why? Because it's our home. We need to defend our home and we need to protect our home. And that's the reason why I believe that I will be a very good congresswoman for this district.
Question.
And I would, if I could point out one more thing. The other thing too, as to influences on our district is I want to make sure that, you know, not everyone knows everything. And what I do is if there's something I don't know, I research it out and make sure that I can give an appropriate answer, because not everyone knows everything at that time period. But one thing is that we have so many experts in our district. Like for instance, if it's a healthcare bill, I'm going to talk to those doctors and the pharmacists and the nurses right here in our district before I vote on a bill or before we even have a bill initiated, because the fact is that we need to do what is best, again, for our district. Thank you.
Okay. Question number 3. How do you plan to strengthen social justice and equality in Michigan?
That's a great question. And as a criminal defense attorney, I have actually observed a lot of racism, not a lot of racism, but racism in different cases that I've had. And I defended those individuals to the best of my ability and made sure that they were taken care of. But I also want to state this, you know, right now we have an issue going on. Everybody can agree with me that what happened to Mr. Floyd was absolutely horrific. But the thing of it is that we need to make sure that we understand that there's only a few bad apples as police officers. And I support the police. I've always supported the police. And we need to make sure that we do continue on having law and order. And that is the premise that I want to make sure that we get across. But the other thing is that we need to, in order to have, to protect the individuals in the future, we need to have bills that actually include having body cameras on the police officers, so it can have transparency for the police officers and the individuals that they're talking to. That's going to protect the police officers. It's also going to protect the individuals, the public, and they need to have them on at all time periods. The second thing is that we need to get the community involved. The community, which is the churches, which includes the churches. And if we recall, Martin Luther King was a great icon for us and a great example. And we need to remember that a lot of the churches in the past have actually been a good mediator for racism, diversity, and they will help us by getting to the police officers and making sure that we talk to them and find out what kind of diversity training do they have, what kind of education do they have, what happens next. The other thing is that there was a bill that was just recently introduced, and it did not get to be voted on, and that was a bill that actually had police reform, and I was totally in support of that bill. And what it did is it tracked the bad apples of the police department, and it would have been very good to have that, and it entailed that we wouldn't have any chokeholds or anything of that nature. So it was a very good bill, and we should have been able to go ahead and vote on it, but unfortunately we were not able to do that. So I do support the police, but we need to make sure that that incident never happens again.
Question number 4. What do you see as the greatest problems with the school systems in Michigan, and how would you address any of those issues?
You know, before we begin there, we need to talk about the spending of the school systems. A lot of people want to throw money just to fix a problem. We need to be accountable, and we need to make sure that we look at, I'm fiscally conservative when we spend money. So we need to look at what is happening in the school system. How can we make the schools better? And I believe that competition is going to be a great thing for the school systems. So I support schools of choice. I support that charter schools, and I support homeschooling, but I also support our educational system in our schools too. We need to make sure that we make sure that the children come first. And that means their education. We need to make sure that they're getting proper education, but we also need to make sure too that there is a competition. So like if a Detroit child wants to go to a Hazlitt school district, they have that choice to go there. Just because they were born in a city of Detroit or somewhere else, they have that ability to actually go to Hazlitt schools or Okemos schools we have some great schools right here in our district. I'm very proud of some of the schools. I came from Pinckney High School. I'm proud of where I came from. I had wonderful teachers. I remember Mr. Wilson, he was my coach as well. And Mr. Wilson taught me government. And to be quite frank, he was a Democrat and he knew I was a Republican back then too. But it was, he taught us very well in school, and he always kept his political views out of what was teaching. And I think that, you know, teachers, we really need to do that. Keep our political viewpoints out when we're teaching our kids. And I really think that, I honestly believe that we need to make sure that we get the civics classes and the government classes back into the school system so that kids understand the history and why these monuments shouldn't be taken down, because history can repeat itself.
So we're a little bit over halfway, and we are at question number 5 of 12. So I want to try to get it to as many questions as possible, but still give you an opportunity at the end for a closing statement. So I just wanted to give you a time update. So question number 5, what do you think are the major issues facing women in Michigan?
You know, prior to COVID-19, that's a great question. Prior to COVID-19, we had a record high of unemployment for women, and women were receiving jobs in leadership positions, and the economy was just doing wonderful before COVID happened. And I want to make sure that everyone understands this. We need to get back there, and we can do that as women. We can do that by getting our economy back going. And one of the things that I have indicated all throughout this campaign is China. We need to stop manufacturing the drugs over in China and bring back the jobs right back here to Michigan. We shouldn't have them have any manufacturing right there of the drugs, because those are vital drugs. And when they said that they're going to stop making those drugs right during the COVID, that's not going to happen on my watch. And we have a lot of good pharmaceutical resources right here in Michigan. We have MSU, and there are a lot of women that have taken higher education, and I'm very proud of that. And I believe that as a woman myself, I've had issues as being a criminal defense attorney. I'm kind of a minority as a criminal defense attorney, because there's not very many of us women out there that actually are criminal defense attorneys. And I'm very proud of what I've accomplished over the years, because the fact is that I love to make sure that we give people second chances.
Question number 6. In 2016, over 42,200 Americans died from opioids overdose, according to the latest CDC data, 5 times higher than in 1999. In your opinion, what steps do you think should be taken to battle this crisis?
As a lawyer, I've seen many situations with this. People begin on Norco, and it could be just, you know, a doctor, a police officer. It can be anybody in our community. And people always think that it's someone that, you know, is indigent or anything. It happens to everyone. Indigent, middle class, even the wealthy people. It happens to them. This is a real life problem. And I believe that Congress has already passed, actually I know that they passed a bill already, and that has actually helped the crisis out. And it tracks the Norco and what is happening with the pharmaceuticals and the doctors. So that has already been passed, but there is always more to do. And a lot of the things that people have to understand too is that heroin, if they can't get Norco, they will go to heroin. And if we can work together as a community, and the Rennick House, and I may be mispronouncing it, but it was a foundation that was started and has helped build houses for women and men so that they can go there to be drug-free and to actually have a beginning and get housing and start jobs. And we need to do this as a community, and I would be supporting those community initiatives.
Question number 7. What initiatives would you like to see put in place to protect Michigan waters, including drinking water, as well as the state's natural water sources, such as the Great Lakes?
We all want clean air and we all want clean water. All right. We had a huge crisis right here in Michigan, and everyone recalls it was nationally known. It was right here in Flint. That was horrific, just horrific. But what I'd like to see is that one of the things I've been saying in my issues as a campaign, in the campaign, is infrastructure. We need to, first of all, we need to reduce the deficit right there at the federal level, but we need to put more infrastructure right here in Michigan. And I plan to do that because we need to build roads. We need to make sure the dams are taken care of, because what happened just recently, and I believe it was in Midland, that was sad. The pictures of these individuals, these poor people coming out with their dogs and their little kids, that's a sad situation. That could have been prevented because we knew, the government knew, and we didn't do anything about it. So we need to make sure that we build our infrastructure here in Michigan. So I am a proponent of the infrastructure.
That leads us to question number 8. If you want to add anything additional, please address the condition of Michigan's infrastructure.
Well, I'm going to just say this. Our roads, as to infrastructure, our roads are horrible. And I believe that everyone will agree with me on that. Even Governor Whitmer would agree with me on that issue. But the thing of it is that we have an issue with having, the legislature gave her a budget to go and work with. And apparently she didn't like that budget. So now we have a bond. And now we're already paying Governor Engler's bond. Now we're paying for another bond. And the problem is that our roads need to be fixed, but we can't be going and raising people's taxes. What we need to do is we need to lower the deficit and nationally. And what we need to do is actually bring back the infrastructure right here in Michigan. And my plan is to make sure that we have some block grants sent over to Michigan so that we can actually get these roads fixed so that we're not ruining our cars and we're not getting in accidents and we're saving people's lives.
So we have about 5 minutes left, so I'd like to get through at least 1 or 2 more questions on our standard list before your closing statement. So question number 9, what do you believe are some of the pros and cons of the current healthcare system? If elected, how would you address healthcare?
Thank you. You know, I've been hearing a lot of things on our campaign trail about the prices of the pharmaceutical drugs. One person has MS and he's paying $1,029 a month just for that pharmaceutical drug that's keeping him alive and helping him with his MS. We need to reduce those prices. And I'm going to go back to the China issue right here, because China, we're not going to have them manufacture these drugs, these life-saving drugs. We're going to bring back the jobs right here to Michigan. We're going to make sure that life-saving drugs are made here in Michigan. We're going to bring back jobs here so we can have jobs right here in the 8th District. And we're also going to make sure that we have pre-existing conditions met for the healthcare system. But we need to make sure that the healthcare system is affordable.
Question number 10. What issues do you think are currently facing millennials in today's society, and how would you address those issues?
You know, there's quite a few issues dealing with a lot of different genders, age groups. But one of the issues that I find even in my career is depression. They have had a lot of depression. I believe that the other issue is that, you know, they've been told all these years that education, you got to get a college degree. You know, one of the things that we need to do is pursue, and it goes back to your school's question, that we need to make sure that we promote skilled trades. Skilled trades, there's a lot of debt out there that people are paying for school education. We need to promote that skilled trades. And, you know, my nephews, I'm very proud of them. They actually work in skilled trades. They put tile on the floors and things of that nature. And it's hard work, but they make a great living on it. And there's millwrights and other people and skilled trades. We need to promote that more. And I believe that will help these millennials. And we also need to make sure that we help our mental health. And I know that our time is short and I could go on forever on the mental health, but go ahead into your next question.
Okay, question number 11. With an increasing age and population, what resources do you think should be available or changes to the current economic climate to assist seniors and or those with disabilities?
Thanks, that's a great question. My parents are 79 and 77. I love my parents dearly and I'd do anything for them. And I love elderly people. They can tell us a lot of history. But one of the things I would say is this, is that I cannot stand anymore idle when I see elderly people being hurt in their own homes by child or caretakers. They're being taken advantage economically. They're taken advantage by scam artists on the phones. We need to make sure that we protect these people. And the other thing is that I want to have a resolution, because some of these governors that actually put the COVID patients into the homes of the elderly when they're the vulnerable individuals, that's attempted murder to me. They were dying, and we had deaths because of that. And we also had gross negligence. We need to make sure that we have also a registry list for the elderly people. And that would take care of, just like we have a registry list for the child neglect and sex offenders. I think that would put an end to it.
Okay, question number 12, and our final question before your brief closing statement. What do you think are the biggest challenges facing the district, and how would you plan on addressing those challenges?
Okay, well, I will be brief because I know I need to be, because I can go on forever about this, but I'm going to give you a couple issues right here. The first one is the unemployment. We have to get jobs right back here to the 8th District. Jobs are completely in Michigan because of the fact our unemployment is very high right now. We need to make sure that we bring the jobs back. And as I stated before, I believe that China, with the issue that we have with China, we can stop the manufacturing of the jobs. We can bring back some of our, not the manufacturing jobs, sorry, manufacturing of drugs, and bring back those drugs and the manufacturing right here to Michigan. We'll save the health of the American lives. We'll also make sure that Americans have jobs right here in our 8th District. And we're also going to have to get these restrictions, not restrictions, but we're going to need to bring back the manufacturing jobs in China that people have over there, because China actually owns 51% of their companies. So we need to make sure that we bring it back here so they're not having cyber security problems with China and other issues with China. So that's the biggest issue that I see. And the second issue is the Constitution. We need to defend our Constitution. We saw that in the COVID. Now, I'm all for the safety of the people. I am for the health of the people, and I'm for the constitutional issues, but I'm also for the economy of the people during the whole COVID crisis. But we need to make sure that we are vigilant on defending our rights, our constitutional rights that these veterans fought for. And those are our First Amendment, our Second Amendment, all throughout the Constitution. Those are important, and we need to make sure that we are vigilant and protect them.
Thank you. Now, with the last couple of minutes remaining, if you'd like to take this time and give a brief closing statement, please.
Sure, thank you. Again, my name is Kristina Lyke, and I am running for Congress. I'm running for Congress because I'm tired of the socialistic tendencies that are going out there. I want to make sure that we defend our Constitution. I want to make sure that I serve the people right here in our 8th District. Why? Because it's our home. And I have a love and passion for the United States of America. My father actually says this all the time. If she could bleed red, white, and blue, she would do it. And that's me. I am very patriotic. I love our country. I love our state. We have great people here. We have great solutions, and we need to work together to make those solutions. And I will do that for the American people and for the Michigan 8th District. And if you would like, you can like us on Facebook, which is Like for Congress. And please feel free to look us up on our website, which is KristinaLyke.com. That's KristinaLyke.com. And don't forget, Michigan likes like.
Thank you so much. And this was a candidate interview with Kristina Lyke, Republican congressional candidate for the 8th District. I'm Brandy Yates, and reminding you to watch our live primary election night coverage on Tuesday, August 4th, right here on HOMTV. Thank you so much for watching.